Did you know for Uncle Buck, despite their characters not getting along for the majority of the film, off-camera Jean Louisa Kelly got along very well with John Candy and said she was honored to work with someone she considered a legend. 2. One night during filming, John Candy went to a bar with music supervisor Tarquin Gotch and spent most of the night there meeting people. The next day, John Hughes heard a caller on a radio talk show excitedly describe his evening with Candy. Hughes was upset with Candy, and despite Candy's assertion that Buck was supposed to appear disheveled, Hughes canceled his scenes for the day and told him to get himself together and get some sleep. 3. Laurie Metcalf, who plays the lonely neighbor lady, recalled how nervous she was on this film, given she didn't have a lot of film experience at the time, more so as she was working with John Candy as he was a pro at improv. But Metcalf saw those fears pass when she felt that Candy sensed her nervousness and proved to be supportive and generous scene partner. Metcalf said that Candy was good at reading people and wanted to put them at ease. Did you know for Hannibal? After years of being actively involved in getting this sequel made during no less than 15 drafts of the screenplay, Jodie Foster ultimately declined to participate in the sequel. She issued a statement at the time saying, "I had been offered more money than ever in my entire career to make this film. But who cares if it betrays Clarice, who has become like a person to me in the end?" Ironically, Foster had to fight tooth and nail for years to land the role of Clarice in The Silence of the Lambs. 2. Sir Anthony Hopkins wrote a screenplay for a sequel to this movie, which would have involved startling-ending Lecter. However, this was never used. 3. Ray Liotta was cast after he kept running into Sir Ridley Scott at the gym. Liotta asked Scott if he had any parts for him, and Scott immediately thought he'd be great as Krendler. 4. Though Sir Anthony Hopkins had no official say in who would play Clarice, producer and director Sir Ridley Scott consulted with him about the actresses he was considering. Hopkins recommended Julianne Moore, with whom he had worked on Surviving Picasso. Did you know for Dumb and Dumber 2, Jim Carrey nearly dropped out of the sequel because he felt that the project's original producers, Warner Brothers, weren't enthusiastic about the film. Carrey eventually decided to rejoin the project, although Warner Brothers dropped the project, which was then taken up by Red Granite Pictures and Universal Studios. 2. The Farrelly brothers couldn't get in touch with Brady Bloom to reprise his role as Billy. They eventually found him through Facebook and were able to get him for the sequel. Due to regulations, Bloom had to audition for the Farrellys. 3. Numerous posters and official pieces of artwork depict Harry and Lloyd in the dog van from the original Dumb and Dumber. However, in the actual movie, they are in it for less than 1 minute of screen time. 4. This marks the first film since Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, where Jim Carrey reprises his character from a previous film. 5. Stephen Hawking was offered the role of the wheelchaired scientist in the science conference. Many of the Ken conference attendees are played by writers of the television series Family Guy. Did you know for Mamma Mia? Pierce Brosnan had no idea what the project was about when he signed on. The producers told him it was being filmed in Greece, and Meryl Streep was starring. Brosnan said he would have signed on for anything involving Streep, describing her as that gorgeous blonde I fancied terribly in drama school. 2. Meryl Streep went to Stockholm, Sweden to record her vocal for the song The Winner Takes It All. She finished it in 1 take. Benny Anderson, former ABBA member and co-composer of the songs, called Streep a miracle. 3. Mandy Moore, Amanda Bynes, Rachel McAdams, and Emmy Rossum were all considered for the part of Sophie Sheridan. Olivia Newton-John and Michelle Pfeiffer were considered for the part of Donna Sheridan. Bill Nighy was considered for one of the father parts. 4. Meryl Streep first saw the musical in October 2001 with her daughter Louisa and her daughter's friends in Manhattan. Streep wrote to the producers to praise them for bringing a little happiness and fun to the lives of New York City's people following the 9/11 attack. Did you know for Kindergarten Cop, Arnold Schwarzenegger has said this is his favorite role of all his movies. It was a departure from his typical action heroes, and he loved working with the children. 2. When the release date was announced for December of 1990, Universal Pictures, as well as Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ivan Reitman, were completely unaware that Home Alone was on its way to becoming a blockbuster and was the #1 film for over a month. While Home Alone continued to stay on top, Schwarzenegger was concerned its success would hurt the box office for this film and tried to ask Universal to delay the release until spring 1991. However, his request was denied, as Universal was confident the movie would still do well enough for them for the holiday season. Although the movie was still a big hit, Schwarzenegger feels it underperformed in comparison to Twins due to the heavy competition from Home Alone and felt it would have done better if released at a different time. 3. Arnold Schwarzenegger claimed that when he first started working with the kids, he was sweating. I felt like the character in the movie. Did you know for Cars, the fictional town of Radiator Springs was inspired by several real-life locations along historic Route 66? In 2001, a creative team from Pixar, including John Lasseter and Joe Ranft, toured parts of Route 66 in Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. Their guide along the way was author and Route 66 historian Michael Wallace. Wallace provided the voice of the sheriff in the film. 2. The tires of Lightning McQueen are Buzzard models manufactured by Lightyear, a reference both to the real Goodyear Eagle tires used in NASCAR and the character Buzz Lightyear from the Toy Story franchise. A Lightyear blimp, spoofing the real-life Goodyear blimp, even appears at the races. 3. The film's animators drew over 43,000 sketches for designs of the cars. 4. The Cozy Cone Motel's design is based on the 2 Wigwam motels along Route 66 in Holbrook, Arizona, and Rialto, California. These were once 2 out of 7 motels, with individual cabins shaped like teepees. Another motel from the chain survives in Cave City, Kentucky. Did you know for Creed, just as the film was entering pre-production, Sylvester Stallone's oldest son, Sage Stallone, passed away from a heart attack. Stallone has admitted that the loss almost sent him into a full breakdown, but Ryan Coogler was eventually able to convince him to use the film as a dedication to Sage, focusing specifically on the father-son relationships that appear in it. Although initially resistant, Stallone said at the Golden Globes that Creed helped him cope with Sage's passing. 2. Sylvester Stallone requested that Michael B. Jordan wear the famous American flag trunks that were previously worn by Apollo Creed in Rocky, and by Rocky Balboa in Rocky III and Rocky IV, to honor the tradition of the Rocky universe. 3. Sylvester Stallone was initially apprehensive about revisiting. I said, no. It was a struggle to get the last one done, and I was so happy with Rocky Balboa and the conclusion of Rocky's story that I thought, we don't need to go any further with it. I dismissed his idea, but it was the director's persistence that led him to reconsider. This film marks Sylvester Stallone's 7th appearance as Rocky Balboa.